So, how should you respond if someone is staring at you and looks like they're planning to attack? And this is a great question that comes up sometimes. So, imagine that you're just sitting in a fast food place and you're getting a burger, and you notice someone won't stop staring at you. And you start getting that feeling that as soon as you get up and you move to the door or you get outside, they're going to try to rob you and jump you, or maybe even come right over to your table and start harassing you as you're eating. Well, the first thing you've got to do is let them know that you see them, because predators are always looking for easy targets. If someone is staring at you, don't just look away or look down at the floor. You don't want to act sheepish or try to hide like this, actually. Thinking that they won't notice you if you just curl up. So that actually sends a signal that you're weak and you would be an easy victim, and that possibly you're distracted or that you don't notice them. So if you feel that someone is staring at you, or if it's pretty clear that that's occurring and it's getting uncomfortable, remember that most people don't do this. It's not a natural behavior. Usually when you make eye contact with a stranger, you look immediately away after a split second, because staring like a creep isn't a normal thing to do. So when someone keeps staring like that, they're likely sizing you up to be their next target, right? And at the same time, sometimes people like to intimidate others this way. And they want to see how you react. They want to see if you can hold your ground. So you have to make sure that you don't look weak, and you don't want to break your glance. Now, you shouldn't try to escalate things either by getting up and acting tough and being aggressive, because nothing has started yet. And the whole point is to stay safe and make sure that things don't escalate. So all you have to do is instead just look right back at them and acknowledge that you're fully aware that they're there. Just stare right back at them. I know someone who was eating at Subway in a bad part of Los Angeles, and he noticed that 3 guys walked in. And to him, it was very clear that they were sizing him up. They kept staring at him. So he didn't look away. He stared back. He looked right back at them, and he didn't make a mean face or anything. He just acknowledged that they were there and kept eating. It was his way of saying, I see you, and you're not going to catch me off guard. And another helpful trick he used in that moment was having his tactical pen on him. So these things are great. They look like regular pens, but they're longer and they're thicker, much thicker. But they're basically a pen on steroids for self-defense. And while those guys were watching him, he took his pen out and just started tapping it on the table. And he wasn't being threatening or waving it around or pointing it. He was just sending a clear message that he's got this thing that he's holding here, and it's something of use. And of course, since even in America, you can't just pull out your gun and set it on the table or tap it like this. Tap it on the table. Because especially a place with more strict laws like California, because it's not a free state, as far as I know. The pen was a way to show that he was prepared without escalating illegally. So you've got to keep some defense tools with you, like your EDC, all the time when you're out, right? In America, you can keep your gun holstered unless there's a direct threat of serious harm. So tapping that pen was a silent way of saying that he wouldn't want that hitting them in the face, or rather they wouldn't want that hitting him. Now the next part is how you carry yourself. Back in the 70s or 80s, around throughout the 70s and perhaps the next decade, a professor did a study where he filmed people walking on the street for 3 days. And some people of this group, I guess, this science group, they took that recording to a prison in New York, and they asked the inmates which people they'd target. And there was almost a 100% agreement that the prisoners didn't pick the biggest or strongest looking people. They chose the ones who weren't walking with confidence, the ones who avoided eye contact and kept their heads down. So when you're out, you have to keep this in mind. It's much better to walk tall, move with purpose, keep your gaze straight. If someone is sizing you up, don't look at the ground and don't avoid them or act like you didn't notice them, hoping that they won't notice you. It just makes you an easy target. You either look weak or you look distracted. So definitely make that eye contact to show that you're aware and that you're not as afraid of them. And because it's a very confident move to stare back at somebody for longer than a couple seconds. It's very unusual. It's a very strong move on your part, a very strong defense move. And when you leave, walk like you know exactly where you're going. Otherwise, when you walk like you're waiting for something, you're thinking, you're unsure, it just gives people that invitation to even just make up random things to say and ask you as a way of taking advantage of you, right? They'll wander up and say, are you lost? Do you need some help? And yet these are the guys who are staring at you. So you don't want to do that. That confidence makes it much less likely that you'll be picked out as a victim. Now, what about freezing when a threat actually starts to happen? This usually happens if you aren't prepared or aren't sure what your next move is. So if it turns into a physical assault, how do you avoid just standing there? It's a good question because, believe it or not, a lot of people just freeze up for probably a few different reasons, but there are far too many videos online where you see someone getting attacked and they just curl up into a ball, or they stand there and just completely let the criminal do what they need to do or what they want to do. Or other times they're getting pummeled at the same time. So that usually ends with someone in the hospital or worse. There are two main ways to make sure you don't just sit there and freeze if someone's coming at you. The first way is, of course, training. You have to do something to build that muscle memory, and you have to be prepared mentally. You have to know what's going to work for a specific situation or different situations. And you need to calibrate for each circumstance and be able to make a very quick decision before of what you should do, what the ideal response is. So for example, some people practice with their gear every single morning, like doing 25 gun draws and pulling the trigger with an empty gun, or pulling the trigger and doing the fire practice. So it's all about building that automatic response. That comes that follows what you know to do intellectually and per every situation. Now, a lot of people say that they don't want to join a gym or take jiu-jitsu, and that's okay. You don't have to do all of that, but you have to remember that a solid strike can stop an attacker. If you hit someone in the face, they usually decide that they'd rather go find an easier victim. So you could really just spend 3 minutes every morning practicing. You might decide to work on jabs and punches, or maybe you prefer palm strikes. And palm strikes are not weak, okay? Trust me, if you hit someone in the face with a palm strike, this is the strongest bone of your hand there. Like this, there's no way you're gonna break your bones or knuckles like you would with a punch. And there's so much weight to it. You can kill a person with it if you hit the right place, or at the very least, you will rattle their brain if you strike their jaw anywhere vertically or onto the side really hard with a hook. Another option is the straight blast, which is Bruce Lee's move. And some of these moves I'll teach in a separate talk, because there's a little bit of technique to some of them and I want to put them all together. It's basically like a 50-yard dash right down the attacker's center line, but with your fists. It's a pummeling of immediately a dozen rounds at once. And it doesn't really matter which move you choose, whether it's a punch or a palm strike or a straight blast. What matters is that you're being aggressive toward the attacker instead of just freezing. So you're moving in, you're hitting them where it counts to make them stop, to greatly deter them. So practicing some kind of self-defense, at the very least, you have to do this. It's the most important thing you can do. And most cities, fortunately, have a lot of schools nearby where you can learn, a lot of martial arts gyms where you can learn these skills. So that's the first way. Even if you're just spending a few minutes a day building that muscle memory and going through the motions in your mind, asking yourself what you do in certain situations and memorizing certain systems for each circumstance. That's how you prepare yourself. Then you've already thought about it. You've premeditated many circumstances, so you don't have to think about it. You don't have to freeze and think about it when it actually happens. That way, if someone approaches you, I know I can pull off a palm strike, a straight blast to the face, something like that. Or a punch to the sternum if they're taller and it doesn't make sense to try to reach up to their face. Now, the second critical thing is to actually think about it and imagine while you're out and about during the day. I just mentioned that. So when you're stepping onto an elevator with a few people, you could ask yourself, what if these people suddenly attacked me? What would my move be? Imagine them coming at you and decide right then, maybe you'd go right into a straight blast or a headbutt or whatever else you've practiced. So it becomes automatic once you've done it enough, and the decision comes quick because you've thought about different scenarios. Or when you're out at the grocery store and you see someone, think through the scenario. What would you do if that person approached me and they grabbed me, they started harassing me, and they tried to drag me out of the store? Maybe it's a palm strike, whatever it is. The point is you have to start thinking about these things more, because most people walk around these days like mindless smartphone zombies and staring at their phones and never considering or thinking about their surroundings or noticing them. And their only thoughts are about how to get their food delivery on Uber, how to get their apps to work, how to pay for their parking. So instead, when you see someone who looks a bit shady or makes you uneasy, you should be thinking, okay, if this person attacks me, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I know exactly which strikes I'm going to make, or what to say, or how to keep my distance, when to raise my voice, all of that. So look around and start paying attention to everything and everyone. It doesn't matter if they're a man or a woman. Women can be dangerous too. If you see a woman walking toward you, ask yourself, what if she suddenly threatened me or said she was going to kill me if I didn't give her my wallet? What's my next move? You have to practice and keep thinking like this all day long to envision these scenarios. If you're at a gym and you see a massive guy who is 3 times your size, don't just ignore that. Think about what you'd do if he came at you, even if you aren't the biggest person in the room. If you know how to strike and you've already planned your move, you have a far greater chance at successfully taking down this person and defending yourself. Because most people would look at a regular average guy and assume that the bigger one would win, but they don't know that you've already thought it through. Or this average guy, for example, who's into self-defense, he's already thought it through. He's planned it. He knows exactly what to do. And that makes all of the difference. And you have to do this because we are in a very violent world now. It's been that way, obviously, since the beginning of time, but it's been getting worse over the number of decades. And nowadays, the legal system doesn't keep dangerous people on the streets anymore. I mean, off the streets. The persecutors are not really persecuting. They just get a slap on the wrist and they're released out of jail after a number of months or a couple of years or something like that. So we all need self-defense now to make sure that we don't freeze up. I've seen on surveillance a couple walking to their car in a parking garage, and a guy jumped out of nowhere and pointed a gun at them. And you could see that they're very afraid of this. This is a serious threat to them, so they didn't do anything. The criminal just they just stood there. They wanted on their knees, I guess, and the criminal just did whatever he wanted. He took their wallets, he searched them. It almost looked like it was going to be an execution. So the guy was just kneeling there, covering his head. These two people, I mean. But they were lucky that the criminal just wanted the money. He got it and left. But some people will just rob you and kill you for no reason. So you don't want to be that person curled up in a ball just hoping that you're lucky enough to survive. So please take care of yourself and your family by learning some form of self-defense, and have a wonderful day.